and he came back with 108 temples, thousands of disciples. Why? Because he preached purely. He was hardly collecting for maintaining. Printing of books is a big job, and there is no guarantee of sale. Without printing books and going to the West, sannyas did not have meaning for Abai, because they were the two instructions. If you ever get money, print books, and you preach in the Western countries in the English language. And who knew when Tirtha Maharaj would sanction his taking sannyas? There was no point in going to Calcutta just to reside in an airy, well-lit room that he had already in Vrindavan. Abai wrote back to Tirtha Maharaj, mentioning his direct order from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati to preach to the English-speaking people. He wanted to go to the West right away, and he had thought that Chaitanya Math would welcome his offer. Both Abai and Tirtha Maharaj had their responsibilities, but perhaps they could work together to carry out the desire of their spiritual master. Abai asked Tirtha Maharaj to reconsider. On May 7, 1959, Bhaktivilas Tirtha Maharaj wrote back. This is his letter. My suggestion is, don't make any hasty decisions. For the time being, you stay with us and engage yourself in the service of the society, and then accept Tridandi sannyas. The purpose of accepting Tridanda is to serve the society. If that is your desire, then Sri Chaitanya Math will decide about your going to America to preach and make all the arrangements. It can never be the principle of the society to let one act according to his individual attempt or desire. But we have to remember, Prabhupada was not acting according to his individual desire. This was the order of his spiritual master. The society will decide, after consulting with the heads, what is to be done by whom. This is what I want to say. First of all, it is necessary to identify oneself with the society. But the society had no money anyway, so what was it? In order to preach in America or in other foreign countries, it is important to have a dignified organization in the background. And secondly, it is necessary to establish oneself in India before going to preach in the foreign countries. So he was taking Prabhupada back to square one. Prabhupada now had for 8 years, he had established the League of, it was a registered society in UP, the League of Devotees. He was making his Back to Godhead magazine since 1944 on a regular basis. He already had contacts in Bombay, Kanpur, Delhi, Prayag, Jhansi, Vrindavan. He already had established himself. It's not that he had to re-establish himself under the Chaitanya Math. He already had plans what he was going to do in the West. But he wanted, Bhaktivilas Tirtha Maharaj wanted him to come back all the way and start all over again under the Chaitanya Math. And Prabhupada was not prepared to do that. Now it is that there are no conferences or meetings in the West as before. Well, that's not true at all. There are always conferences and meetings about spiritual activities, whole universities set up for that. Communication is done through the media of television. So this is not true what was being written here by Bhaktivilas Tirtha Maharaj, and Prabhupada could understand that. Abai could understand the needs and priorities of the Chaitanya Math, but he could not allow them to overrule what he considered the highest. Abai had offered his services to the leaders of the Chaitanya Math, thinking they might also see things his way. He thought that with the world's crying need for Krishna consciousness staring them in the face, they might see that this Abhay Babu was convinced and enthusiastic, and so should be sent right away with whatever he required. But they had other priorities. Now this is the difference between Srila Prabhupada and other spiritual leaders. Anytime a devotee would come to Prabhupada with any type of inspiration, Prabhupada, I want to start a temple here, just do it. Prabhupada, I think this is a good, just do it. So there's a famous saying nowadays, just do it. Prabhupada started that. He would just spin the globe and he would say, you will go here, you will go there, you will go there, and send them all. You can hear when Gopal talks, Brahmananda, Gargamuni, Prabhupada was just sending the devotees everywhere. No restraint. And he wasn't supporting them. He would send them and they would have to collect all by themselves. Because he trained them like that. He learned from his spiritual master. And therefore Prabhupada was such a great success all over the world. Not just in India. All over the world. You go anywhere. Any country you visit. I just got a letter from Greece. Greece is a very poor country. They have beautiful books. Bhagavad Gita, all of Prabhupada's small books, all in Greek. Anywhere now, 87 languages. And that's all because Prabhupada said, just do it. So that was Prabhupada's mantra. Yes, you have some inspiration coming from Krishna. You do it, and you find out how to do it. Yes. Abhay next turned to Keshav Maharaj in Mathura. And Keshav Maharaj told Abhay to take sannyas immediately. Now Keshav Maharaj, we've heard about him before because Prabhupada was always on very good terms with him. Even before he took sannyas, Keshav Maharaj, he would visit him in Prayag. And when Prabhupada wanted to start the League of Devotees in Jhansi and establish a temple, he invited Keshav Maharaj to come and see if it was something he would be interested in. He wasn't, because Jhansi was too small. Keshav Maharaj understood what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati wanted. He wanted preaching in the big cities where the people are. So now he's turned to Keshav Maharaj, his old friend, and also Sridhar Maharaj, because Sridhar Maharaj was a close friend of Prabhupada's family, staying on the top of the laboratory of Prabhupada. Sridhar Maharaj felt that if he gave Prabhupada sannyas, the family would be angry at him and accuse him of taking their husband and father away. So Sridhar Maharaj said, you go to Keshav Maharaj. He has my sannyas mantra. So, yes, Prabhupada turned to Keshav Maharaj. And there's a book. I don't know how many of you have seen this book. It's a very interesting book that was compiled by one of our god sisters, Mula Prakriti Devi Dasi. Now, after Satsrup Maharaj, because from 1979 onwards, devotees were sent out all over the world to collect interviews. We all did our interviews for Satsrup Maharaj to compile the Prabhupada Lilamrita. But there was a shortage of time, and there was also a shortage of space. How much could, already it's 7 volumes, how much could he put into this work of Prabhupada Lilamrita? So he couldn't include everything, especially all the details of the interviews. Like Jamuna, she did 14 cassette tapes. That's 14 hours of her interview. I did 1 cassette tape. That's the difference between the personal associates of the disciples of Prabhupada, who had more association. They had books and books to write. So, and eventually they would write their own books. So Mula Prakriti, because she had stayed for some time in India, she was meeting devotees of Prabhupada's generation who hadn't been interviewed, or because of the time crunch, their memories weren't included in the Lilamrita. And they were beautiful memories of Prabhupada, things that we don't find in the Lilamrita. So she made it her goal to visit, and before they all disappeared, to visit as many of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas and the residents of Mayapur and Vrindavan and Jagannath Puri, and get their interviews, whether it was in Bengali or in Hindi. She had devotees help her, like Aditya Mataji, who lived here. She would travel with her. And they would get these interviews from all of these associates of Prabhupada, his neighbors, his school friends, people that Prabhupada would meet at the mutts. And she compiled this book, Our Srila Prabhupada, because Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was Srila Prabhupada. He accepted that title quite early. But for us, our Srila Prabhupada